What's going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk about what the prop firms are failing to tell you versus what you are hearing, whether that be through the prop firms, whether that be through social media. And I think that these few problems that I'm going to outline are why exactly you're kind of staying stagnant. You're not really progressing in your trading journey. You kind of feel like you're in the hamster wheel going around and around. A lot of us as traders, we have 3, 4, 5 good days automatically wiped out by one single trade, one single bad trading day, one news event, and we start to look to blame the strategies. We start to look to blame the prop firms. Well, if the rules that they put forth for us were a little different, I wouldn't have these problems. If I didn't have a trailing drawdown, I wouldn't have these problems. And you're always constantly looking for the next excuse as to why you are not becoming successful. And what they are not telling you is exactly what is driving more revenue to their bottom line, which is smart, good business practices on them. We obviously have to abide by the rules. We obviously have to have a clear head on our shoulders. But some of the things that I'm going to tell you that they are not saying is it has nothing to do with strategy. Okay, so strategy, you can just almost forget about it. There's a million different strats. Okay, so forget about the strategy. What it comes down to is how well the individual trader is managing and executing upon that strategy. So a lot of times you spend countless hours back testing and tinkering with stop losses, tinkering with take profits. What's going to make me more successful? What's going to have a higher win rate? What's going to return a better R multiple on that specific trade? When in theory, when the live markets are on, when the candlesticks are moving, when the price action's grooving, a lot of times you don't trust a strategy that you've spent hours and hours back testing, and that has nothing to do with the prop firms. It has nothing to do with the particular strategy. What it has to do with is you not being able to execute. But we need to find out the reason why you are not being able to execute in real time. And what I have found through speaking with over 100 traders is that they've done countless hours of research and back testing, but yet they have failed to do the forward testing. And the forward testing really starts on day one, where you start tracking each individual trade. You start keeping a journal, whether that be on a notepad on your computer, whether that be on a pen and paper on your desk, whether that be in the notes in your phone. But you need to start tracking the outcome of what happened on that particular day during that specific window, during this specific news event, and then you start to learn maybe when you should not take the setup, even though it's aligning with your strategy. So forget about the strategy. A lot of times prop firms will say, if you practice good discipline and you use good risk management and you have the right strategy, you're going to be successful. But those are all very vague and generic terms. Those are all cliche sayings, right? Everyone knows you're supposed to be disciplined. But how do you stay disciplined, right? What is it going to take for you to be and remain disciplined when you're in a trade, when you need to take the stop loss, when you lose two trades in a row and you need to walk away? So many, and I want to say about 90% of traders, even that I have spoken to, you understand that you need to walk away after, let's say, two losses, or maybe a $500 daily loss limit that you set forth for yourself. And a lot of times it's very easy when the trades are winning to stick to the game plan, but it's extremely hard when things are not going to plan. So what is that? What is the where is the shift that we need to make inside of our brains to get us out of that fight or flight mentality and get us more into a calm and clear mental capacity? And one thing that I know that I do for myself is forget about the strategy. I probably play about a half dozen strategies each and every single day. I kind of just sit around and wait for these setups and opportunities to present themselves. And when they do, I just execute, right? I have no control of the outcome. Some of them win, some of them lose. I know that I'm gonna have some losing days. I know that I'm gonna have some winning trades. But What about when I take the setup and it doesn't work, right? Okay, now that's where I start to, I start to feel the blood pressure start to elevate. I start to feel the anxiety. I start to feel, the urge to want to revenge trade, the urge to want to size up, the urge to want to fire back into that same trade, because I'm married to the bias or married to the plan. So what do I need to do personally? And this is what I feel prop firms are not really teaching as much, because of course it's not an incentive. They're not incentivized to teach this. But I would say that throughout your trading day, you need to break it up into individual sessions. Okay, so if you trade the New York session, obviously we are going to open up at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would break up your trading session in blocks of 30 minutes to an hour, right? How well can you stay focused and wait for your setup in that 30 minutes or 1 hour? If you take one trade and let's say it's a loser, that's when a lot of the problems start to arise. We need to physically break the mental pattern that is keeping us in the fight or flight mode. So what I would recommend, do something that is not too out of the ordinary that you would normally do in your day-to-day life. So whether that's going downstairs and making a pot of coffee, whether that's getting outside, getting some fresh air for 10 to 15 minutes, whether that's physically getting up from the chair, setting a timer for let's say 20 minutes, and then coming back to the screens after the alarm goes off. You have to physically break the mental pattern, the mental cycle that is happening in that specific moment, because it's very easy to tell yourself in real time, I can't trade anymore. I need to walk away. I just took a $500 loss. I know I'm not supposed to trade anymore, but if I sit here, I'm going to find that next winning, I'm going to find that next winning strategy. I'm going to find that next winning trade. Maybe if I look to social media and see what everyone else is trading today, maybe I need to switch assets. Maybe it's not the NQ today. Maybe it's the ES. Maybe it's not ES today. Maybe I should be trading gold, right? It's very easy when you're physically locked into the screens that you don't break the pattern. So you have to find something in your day-to-day life that you can break away from the screens in individual sessions, okay? And the reason being is because let's say you physically get up from the screens and you take a walk around the block, right? We'll use something as simple as that. You take a walk around the block. That's 15-20 minutes where your brain is naturally disconnecting from the series of events that happened 15 minutes before, okay? And when you come back to the screens, now you're a little bit more clear. Now you're not going to feel so much FOMO. Now you're not going to feel so much regret or so many emotions. And you're going to have a little bit of a clear head because that dopamine is going to start to decrease. You're not going to be in such flight or fight mode, and you're going to be able to make a more rational and reasonable decision on whether you want to continue to trade for that day and risk continuing to break those rules, or you're going to have a little bit of a clear head to say, hey, you know what? I understand that I've taken a loss today. I know that I probably shouldn't be trading. And at this point, I really don't feel like taking another trade because I don't want to ruin everything that I've done the previous 3 days or 4 days or whatever. So the second thing that I'm going to say is here, I'm just going to leave this note here, is we need to break, right? We need to break, and just bear with me here. We need to break the mental cycle, right? Break the mental cycle. And when you break that mental cycle, I believe, and you can try this out on your own, is you need to break that mental cycle with something physical, okay? So break it with something physical, right? So we're going to break this mental, lock that we have with something physical. And I would start off by not telling yourself the next 30 days I'm going to do this. I would start off by saying, can I do this for one day, right? Because everything starts with one trade. Everything starts with one day. A plan that I would set forth for someone would be, give yourself 1 hour to trade. Give yourself 1 hour to look for your setup or the handful of setups that you trade. Take 1 or 2 trades if they present themselves in that 1 hour window. When that 1 hour window is done, regardless if you took a trade, regardless if you took a winner or you took a loser. Physically break the cycle by getting up and doing something outside of your trading for at least 15 minutes. When that 15 minutes is over, then come back to the screens, sit down, and ask yourself the question, how do I feel? Do I want to continue to trade? Where am I at in terms of following my rules? And what would be the best for my accounts to get me to tomorrow? I think that at that point in time, you're going to be a lot more mentally clear and make a more reasonable and rational decision on what is going to be the future of what you do that particular day, versus sitting here for 1 hour taking a trade, whether it wins, loses, or breaks even, or whether you took no trade at all, and then continuing to sit through that. You're keeping your brain in that same mental state where now you can start to feel emotions, now you can start to feel boredom, now you can start to feel a little bit of aggression, a little bit of anger, a little bit of just not knowingness. And that's going to create your executions to be a little bit off course, because mentally you're pinning, right? You're pinning the overdrive button on your brain to make all of these little small decisions without giving it a break, right? It's like if you're driving a car and you absolutely floor it, the RPMs are going to go up, up, and up, and up, and up. Imagine if that car stayed in second gear, right? Imagine you're flooring it and it stays in second gear. The RPMs are just going to absolutely start to pin, and that car's really not going to go any farther if it's stuck in second gear, right? So how do we go from first gear to second gear, third gear to fourth gear without any breaks, without any shifts? Does that make sense? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a shift in that mental state to go from gear 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and to 5. And that way, each shift that we have by taking that physical break, you're going to get a little bit more clarity where you can stop and ask yourself the question if you want to continue to trade or not. Because again, like I said, we all know you need to be disciplined. We all know you shouldn't overtrade. We all understand that. That's not what we're trying to establish here. We know what we're doing wrong, but how do we start to fix it? And this is one way that you're going to start to fix it. So again, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys want to join Evolution Traders, that link is down in the description box below. If you guys want to trade with me each and every single day, I have a lot of little exercises and plans that I do with a lot of my traders that trade with me. If you guys are interested in live trading, you can get there through the link down in the description box below, and I'll see all of you guys on the next video.